Shalom, this is Daniel Stern of the Netivyah Bible Instruction Ministry, coming at you as always from downtown Jerusalem, from the Netivyah building. If you're ever in the area, stop on by. We'd love to see you. And today we are going to talk about Syria. Now, why Syria? Because there's a lot going on there and a lot of interesting stuff that affect the area, the region, Israel, and so on. So let's start. As we all know, in 2011, there was a civil war that started during the Arab Spring against the rule of President Bashar al-Assad, the son of Hafez al-Assad, that have in total been ruling in Syria for about 52 years. And this civil war basically completely destroyed the country, sent 6.2 million Syrians into Europe as refugees, and 3.6 of them are still in Turkey, by the way, and decimated the country, killed over 1 million people, many of them Palestinians, but we're not going to go into the fact that the world doesn't care about Palestinians killed by Syrians, only about Palestinians killed by Israelis, but we'll leave that for another time. And the Bashar al-Assad, the president, almost lost his grip on power until he got reinforcements from Russia, who carpet bombed the area and killed many thousands of his enemies, of Bashar's enemies, from Iran, and from Iran's proxy Hezbollah that became a major force in Syria. Second part of that civil war started in 2015 when the ISIL, the Islamic Republic in Lebanon, or in the Levant, Syria and Lebanon, started to take over the area in Iraq and in Syria and Lebanon, and was a major threat for all of the countries. And then the world united to destroy them, and that happened for a few years. And about 2017-ish, one could say that ISIL was weakened to a point that it was no longer a global threat. And then we moved on to a third phase in that war, which brings us to where we are now, which the country got divided into quite a few separate mini-states. The biggest of them is still controlled by Bashar al-Assad. It's about 60% of Syria. Then there is a large autonomous Kurdish zone in the northeastern part of Syria that's probably about 25% of Syria. In the southeast, there's a small enclave which has a U.S. army base, and there's a militia backed by the U.S. that is fighting against Bashar al-Assad. In the east, there are Iranian army bases and Hezbollah bases. In the north, there are rebels. In the northeast, there are rebels that control the province of Idlib, and they are backed by Turkey. And additionally, in the northeast and central northern part, there are two Turkish-controlled enclaves, because Turkey does not like the Kurds and does not like Bashar al-Assad, so they are happy to oppose them. Specifically, the positioning of their enclaves are to not allow the Kurdish autonomous zone to connect with the Kurds in Lebanon and the Kurds in Turkey. Because what you may or may not know is historically there is a region which goes in Lebanon, Syria, Turkey, and Iran and Iraq, that is what is historically the region of Kurdistan, and there are about 35 million Kurds living in that area, divided into all those countries. And those Kurds oppose each of the countries that they live in. They oppose Syria in Syria. They oppose Iraq in Iraq. There was a great animosity between the Kurds and Saddam Hussein. They oppose Erdogan. They are considered terrorists by Erdogan. And, of course, they oppose Iran. And if they could unite, it could change the global landscape of the area. So, just throw it in. So, Erdogan, the Turkish president, who's been around for about 22 years as president, the first 3 terms as prime minister, then 2 terms as president. Now he's starting his 3rd term as president, so he's basically a dictator. But in any case, we'll put that aside as well for another time. He opposes Bashar al-Assad, as mentioned, for historical reasons, and he opposed the Kurds because he's concerned that they would unite and oppose him. Now, what has happened? Well, as we know, there was a war between Israel and Lebanon that just recently a ceasefire was signed. During that time, Israel bombarded the Hezbollah forces and basically decimated them in Lebanon and in Syria, as well as attacking Iran in addition to that, and the Syrian forces, Assad's forces, and so on and so forth. The result of that is the weakening of Hezbollah, the weakening of Iran, and consequently, this is the perfect time for the Turkish-backed militias to attack. And that they did. They attacked and they captured, over the last 2 days, they captured the town, the Syrian city of Aleppo, the second largest city in Syria. This is a major earthquake. It cannot be overestimated what this means. In addition, they claim they're on their way to Damascus. I'm not yet sure about that, but they have attacked Homs and Hama, two larger cities south of Aleppo. In addition, there are reports that they captured an airbase with fighter jets, ammunitions, drones. Now, who knows if they're able to use it or not? We've seen some cases where different jihadist forces and freedom fighters have captured advanced technology and have not been able to use it, helicopters and airplanes in particular. So whether we see them carpet bombing Damascus or not is still up in the air. Now one might ask, as I started a moment ago, why they're doing it now. We mentioned the Hezbollah and Iran have been weakened. Another reason that they're attacking now is because over the last month, Russian air power has been used to bomb Idlib, which has been their province. And after a month of being bombed, they need to react and show the citizens in the places that they control that this isn't going to continue forever. So that is one of their excuses for this new assault. Additionally, what else is going on in the world? Well, there's a big battle in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. So the Russians, which supported Bashar al-Assad from 2011, have less resources available to help him. Even though in the last few days they have used their air force to strategically strike at the Turkish-backed militias, but it's nowhere near the casualties of the beginning of this civil war. The numbers are in the dozens and not in the thousands as of yet. So we'll see how that develops. Now, I mentioned that there's a lot of involvement of other countries in Syria. So just to clarify, there are about a dozen Russian army bases and about a dozen United States army bases in Syria, as well as multiple Iranian bases, and all the militias, of course, have bases. And it's also worth noting that ISIS and ISIL still exist and still have areas that are under their protection control, just so we understand how messed up Syria is. Now, what do we want to happen? You know, many times in Israel the question is it good for the Jews? What do we want to happen? Well, do we want Bashar al-Assad to fall after 13, 14 years of civil war? I don't know. He's an enemy of Israel, but at least he's a country. At least there's someone you can talk to. We can get messages through Russia to him. If some jihadist organization takes over, some radical, more extreme than Hamas organization takes over, another Sunni organization, that might not be better for us. We've seen what happened when Saddam Hussein fell in Iraq. We've seen what happened when Muammar Gaddafi fell in Libya. The countries dissolved into chaos. So while we don't like Bashar al-Assad, maybe the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. But as Menachem Begin said during the Iraq-Iran war, good luck to both sides. And I'd like to wish a fond good luck to both sides in this conflict. May they harm each other and weaken each other to the point where neither of them is a threat to Israel. In any case, There's also one more report that is worth noting. I haven't heard any follow-up on it, so it might not be accurate, but there was a report that the general in charge of the Directorate for Security in Damascus is trying to lead a coup d'etat against the president and find the president and his family members. Now, if that is in fact true, and if it is indeed successful, that would of course be a game changer. But as I say, I only saw one report about that, so take it with a bucket of salt. And if there's much more to do than to talk about, we'll get a second video later on. So in the meantime, that's news from Syria, which of course relates to Iran and Lebanon and Israel and Russia and the US and everything. And pray for the situation there. Pray that the innocents there don't get killed. Pray that God's will be done. And as we know, Aleppo is one of the cradles of Christianity, and we want this to survive and not be destroyed. It's historical and is critical to our existence, just in that those who don't remember the history are doomed to repeat it, and we don't want to forget where we come from, where we're going, and before whom we will stand stand in court in the heavens. And the last thing that is very important is that this coming Tuesday is known globally as Giving Tuesday. After Thanksgiving, which many have celebrated, we want to show and give ourselves the opportunity to be charitable, to support causes that we care about. And I would like you all to prayerfully consider what you can, do what you can to support causes that you care about, be it for God, for other people, for your community, for Israel, but support the causes that matter to you this Giving Tuesday. God bless you all. Shalom.